The movie begins with a young girl named Roxana who goes to the beach for a deep dive with her grandpa. She jumps into the water but mysteriously emerges as a full-grown woman. This is simply a jump to many years later. In university, Roxana learns about creatures that can adapt to the great depths of the sea. The professor explains how the pressure increases as you go deeper into the sea, reaching a depth that can make your lungs explode. After class, she sees a poster for a deep diving course done by a world champion named Pascal and signs up. She goes home and her mom asks her why she stopped seeing her therapist. Roxana refuses to discuss it and leaves home. On the train, Roxana texts her mom that she will be staying with a friend for a while. A while later, a guy named Tom finds Roxana sleeping on the beach after she signed up for the deep diving course but was unable to get accommodation at the nearby youth lodge. Tom introduces himself as one of the instructors. On the boat where the students stay, Tom and another man, Stefan, explain the rules of free diving. While they're learning, the boss, Pascal, comes to speak to them about facing their fears and Roxana seems to be attracted to him. After their training, Tom walks with Roxana and compliments her swimming. He tells her to meet up with their team that night for some drinks. That evening, Roxana comes to a restaurant to join the team at the table. Pascal, who is the life of the party, keeps locking eyes with Roxana. Midway through, Roxana goes into the bathroom. Pascal suddenly walks in and they both passionately make love. When Roxana returns to the table, Tom looks uncomfortable. Pascal soon joins them and his own date angrily leaves the table. Over time, Roxana and Pascal get into a romantic relationship and go on dives together. One time, Pascal takes Roxana to the boat to join his team when he's doing one of his deep dives. Tom still looks uncomfortable but remains silent. Stefan and Tom explain that Pascal is doing a 172-meter dive, 2 meters deeper than the current world limit, in a type of dive where a sled takes you down and up, called No Limit. The team checks Pascal's equipment to ensure it's safe, and they go for it. 8 safety divers jump into the water at various depths to ensure they can help if anything goes wrong, and Pascal goes in. Soon, after reaching the lowest depth, Pascal emerges and gives a thumbs up to show he's fine. They start to celebrate, but realize one of their safety divers didn't come out. Eventually, they bring him out, but he doesn't respond to first aid. After they reach the shore, they all mourn for their friend and go make a statement at the station. The next day, Pascal meets with the team while they're still mourning their loss. He tells them their friend would have wanted them to continue for the big record, and they agree. One of the members agrees to replace their lost diver, and Roxana proposes to become the diver that stays at the surface. Stefan refuses, but him and the others support Roxana because she's gifted and teachable. That evening, Pascal speaks to Roxana about going back to school, but she tells him she's decided to stay with him and the team. The next day, Stefan and Tom teach Roxana the procedures for being a surface safety diver. At the AIDA World Championship, Pascal attempts to break the 170 meters record. He soon reaches 172 meters and gives a thumbs up signal to Tom to show he's okay. After he pulls the knob, the sled takes him back up, and he breaks the record. At night, Roxana and Pascal make passionate love. Later, Roxana's mom, Juliet, calls her about her plans, so she informs her about Pascal. Juliet becomes unhappy that Roxana is abandoning her life just for some man she met, but Roxana soon hangs up to join her team at a party. The next day, while the team is on the road, they learn that another diver just broke Pascal's record by doing 174 meters. Tom comforts Pascal by telling him they'll just go for it again and beat his record. That evening, Roxana and Pascal go have fun at the beach. Sometime later, Pascal and his team go on a 176-meter dive practice run. This time, Pascal blacks out and lets go of the sled after they resuscitate him. Pascal and Roxana go to a hospital. Pascal tells the doctor that he hasn't passed out like that in years, but the doctor tells Roxana that Pascal is playing with fire, and it won't end well if he continues. Pascal says it's his life, and it is what it is. Pascal decides to take Roxana to the sea for a diving practice so she can break a world record. She does really well, so they go for the real deal. In 2016, in Italy, Roxana attempted a 56 meters dive in the CWF and broke the record. After she wins, an interviewer comes to ask her how she feels, so she tells everyone she couldn't have done it without Pascal. During the celebration, Juliet comes to speak to Roxana. She tells Pascal that all this is harmful for Roxana and tries to talk Roxana into going home. When Roxana tells her to stop, Juliet tells her she did well during the competition and also informs her that her grandpa misses her. That night, Roxana wakes up from a dream where she's drowning and doesn't find Pascal by her side. She finds him in the living room staring at the TV, so he issues her he'll soon come to bed. In Italy, later in September, at some other person's world record attempt, Tom talks about a woman, Naomi, who plans to attempt 178 meters and who plans to beat the men's record. Soon after, she reaches 178 meters and everyone celebrates her. Pascal soon shows up and demands that the judges let him do 180 meters, but they refuse to let him. He becomes angry and threatens to destroy everyone. That night, during the French divers' world record celebration, the host calls out Roxana for beating her record and everyone celebrates her. When the host calls out Naomi for doing 178 meters, Pascal walks away out of contempt. After everyone leaves, Roxana asks Pascal why he didn't stay, knowing that was an important moment for her since she had nothing to do with his record being beaten. He tells her Naomi's dive was bull and he's going to beat the record soon and gain the spotlight. She tells him that's really sad, so he tells her what's sad is that both his dysfunctional parents left him, but he's now set 25 world records and has become a champion. Roxana realizes his pain and starts to apologize, but he tells her to go back to the hotel and walks away. Later, she tries to reach his cell but keeps reaching his voicemail. The next day, the team prepares to go to Kalamata. Tom tells Roxana that Pascal had traveled to Kalamata to clear his head after they prevented him from competing. Roxana tries to contain her surprise and asks Stefan if the blackouts are that serious. So he tells her that the blackouts rarely stop when they start. When they get back, Stefan helps Roxana prepare for a bigger world record. In Kalamata, Greece, Roxana competes for the record and wins. During the interviewer mentions how Roxana is gaining a newfound role as a star athlete and as a sex symbol, which the crowd affirms. Roxana tells him she's not a star athlete yet and she doesn't see herself as a sex symbol. Later, Pascal watches Roxana talking to the interviewer. She blushes and rubs his hand when he makes another joke about her being a sex symbol. Roxana goes to kiss Pascal but he chastises her publicly about blushing like a schoolgirl just because a man compliments her. Sometime later, Pascal calls a meeting with the team. He tells them he believes it's time to go for the record, but they protest. He tells them they're right, but he believes Roxana can do a no-limit record. Stefan and Tom call it quits because they believe Pascal is playing with Roxana's life. He tells them to leave and tells everyone else to leave, but Roxana tells them all to sit down. She tells them that doing the dive is her choice and not for Pascal. That night, while Pascal and Roxana talk about his blackouts, she tells him she knows what it's like to feel like it's over. She tells him about how her father killed himself when she was 12 and all her pain made her slit her wrists in the bathtub until her grandfather found her and saved her. She tells him that he means more to her than any record or trophy and she could drop it all for him. Soon after, Roxana and Pascal are on the bed, making love. After they're done, she suggests that they let go of all this and go somewhere together, but Pascal becomes irritated. He gets up and starts to dress, then tells her not to think of quitting and becoming insignificant when she's becoming a winner. He immediately steps out for a walk. That night, Roxana gets drunk at a bar and calls Tom to keep her company. After he arrives, she tells him she realizes he liked her first and she believes she made the wrong choice. He tells her he felt she liked him too, so she tells him she's sorry. He guesses she had a fight with Pascal, so she tells him that Pascal is cheating on her. She suddenly kisses him, which he reciprocates. He stops her and tells her she's drunk and he doesn't want her to regret kissing him. They eventually decide to go for a bike ride. During the no-limit practice, Roxana goes down 176 meters and gives Tom a thumbs up. When she reaches the surface, Pascal celebrates with the team. Pascal tells the team to set the plate to 180 meters so he can attempt to ride, but they all seem uncertain. Eventually, Pascal reaches 180, but on his way up, he blacks out again and lets go of the sled, so the safety divers help him out when they resuscitate him. Roxana tries to talk him into a vacation, but he tells her to keep quiet and tells her she'll keep training for her competition because champions don't run and hide. That evening, Roxana walks in on Pascal laughing over the phone. She asks him who it is, so he tells her it's no one. He tells her he's heading out to get some air, so Roxana tails his car on her bike. She follows him to a hotel where he goes to pick up a girl whom he kisses publicly. Roxana starts to cry and leaves. She goes to Tom's house crying, so he comforts her. She tells him what happened and tells him she's leaving Pascal. She tells him she wants to do the dive with him, but it's going to be her last. They suddenly start to kiss and they make love. At dawn, Roxana returns home to pack her things and Pascal demands to know where she was, but she doesn't answer. He tells her it's fine if she needed to cheat, and he tells her he needed to because it was meaningless. She tells him it meant something to her, so he tells her he's the only one he's ever loved. She tells him she doesn't buy it and continues packing her things. Pascal looks dejected, so he angrily walks to the mirror and punches it. Roxana runs to clean his bloody hands, so she apologizes, but he tells her not to. Later, Pascal takes Roxana to practice holding her breath. While she's under, her phone beeps when Tom sends her a loving text, which Pascal sees. A day before Roxana's record attempt, Pascal and Roxana meet with some interviewers. While they're talking, the girl who Pascal was cheating with comes to sit down among the crowd, and Roxana notices Pascal wink at her. Roxana suddenly stands up and leaves Pascal to continue the interview. At night, she sits alone and sobs. The next day, she goes to the competition point to attempt the 180-meter dive. Meanwhile, Pascal speaks with the team concerning the safety measures to check. Later, Tom goes to check the sled once more. While he's working, Pascal approaches him and mysteriously tells him that he'd like him to know that they're good. Pascal goes to meet Roxana, and he calls her his champion, but she doesn't say anything, and he leaves. Moments later, Tom hears some gas leaking. and he spots Pascal working on Roxana's sled. He asks him what's going on, so Pascal tells him he's just checking it and asks him to help him get it in the water. When Roxana gets in the water, Pascal kisses her, but she doesn't reciprocate. She soon goes into the water and reaches 180 meters. When she reaches maximum depth, she signals to Tom by making a thumbs up and attempts to activate the mechanism that takes her back up. She turns the knob, but it doesn't go back up, so Tom rushes to help her, but they find out it's almost empty. Tom starts to scream, and he helps her go up, but the sled moves very slowly because it can't carry her weight. It's impossible for him to give her air at the depth because her lungs would explode. Tom tries to rush to help her, but the other safety divers hold him back because it isn't safe. Eventually, Roxana gives up and lets go of the sled. When the sled reaches the surface, the divers jump in and find her unconscious body. When she reaches the surface, they try to resuscitate her, but she doesn't respond. Pascal just stands there, watching them try to resuscitate her. At the police station, the officers ask Tom how he checked the tank that was supposed to fill the lift bag, but then it turned out to be empty. They ask him what he thinks happened, but he doesn't say anything. Pascal is also interrogated, but he says nothing incriminating. Some time later, Tom takes a taxi to the airport. He cries in the back seat and doesn't notice when they reach the airport. When he steps out, he notices Pascal watching him nearby while taking a smoke, and he walks into the airport. Meanwhile, Roxana's grandpa weeps bitterly in his boat as he pours out Roxana's ashes into the water. This movie was made in memory of Audrey Mester, who lived from 1974 to 2002. She died in the Dominican Republic while attempting a 171-meter dive. Well, I can't believe this is based on a true story. Pascal was a very toxic red flag. I'm so sad it didn't have a happy ending and Roxana didn't end up with Tom. What did you guys think?